Hello and welcome to my channel. This channel is dedicated to exposing Watchtower lies, deceptions and cover-ups. My name is Marcy and I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses for over 30 years. I served as a regular pioneer for 10 of those years. I was first contacted in the door-to-door ministry back in 1987 and I finally left the organisation in 2022. This video is about red flags, and if you are one of Jehovah's Witnesses now, I'm sure that you have seen things that you just don't sit right with you. Certain things that you've heard, or certain doctrines, or certain teachings, certain practices that you see going on that just don't seem to sit right, but you've just go along with, or you just dare not mention it to anybody else. I know I did, and I know that most people who leave have seen red flags that they have let slip, ignored, or turned a blind eye to, or thought shelved, call it what you will. But eventually, when you wake up, and whatever it is that wakes you up, and it's different things that wake different people up. As I've said in my videos, it was the COVID vaccines and the governing body pushing those vaccines on the congregation that woke me up. Another thing was the United Nations, the fact that they joined the UN as an NGO. And, and as soon as this was exposed, they disassociated themselves from that organisation, showing that it was wrong what they were doing. So that was the two of the things that actually woke me up, as well as the failed 1914 prophecy. For my husband, now husband Paul, he woke up through different things. It was the beard policy and the overlapping generation that did it for him. And he finally got out under the banner of those two things that just didn't sit with him, right? So we've all got these things, and whether you admit it or not, there are things that are red flags that flag up, and then you need to pay attention to. I know that I did not pay attention to these red flags that I'm going to talk about today. So the first red flag that I really saw when I was involved with the Watchtower Society, and I can't remember whether it was after I'd got baptised when this happened. I think it was after I got baptised when this occurred, when the Kingdom Hall that was built and paid for by the congregation in Sheffield, it was where it was, the Kingdom Hall was sold, and the congregation was divided between 3 other congregations. So what happened to the congregation, to the Kingdom Hall that we attended? Well, it was sold to Muslims to become a mosque. So this was a major red flag for me, and I remember being quite outspoken about things, bringing it up, and saying, how is it that they can sell this building to a false religion that is promoting false worship as they teach it? How can they sell it to somebody for that to go on and they take their money as profit? I just couldn't get my head around that. Now that should have woke me up. That should have said to me, Marcy, this is hypocrisy. But I was new in the organisation. We used to say New in the Truth back in the day. I was new in the organisation, and I was talked to and said, given some excuse that why it had taken place, and it was shelved. And I accepted what they said to me, that this was the only organisation that gave us the hope of paradise, and you know, and the 1914 we were in the last days and so near the end. You know, if the organisation's made a mistake, don't let that put you off. And so I accepted this this explanation, although it never did sit right with me. So that was a major red flag. Another red flag which I didn't agree with was when they had the when there was some vote to be taken by the congregation for whatever reason it may be, and they said they would put it to a vote. I can't remember the word they call it, but they were putting it to a vote for the congregation. All those for, all those against, all those abstaining. And I quite often did not agree with what it was that they were proposing. When they proposed that the Watchtower Society would take over the finances of the Kingdom Halls, that they would now become part of the society and not the congregation. I did not agree with that at all, and neither did a lot of others. But because it was seen as going against Jehovah's plans, or the things that Jehovah was set in motion, you had to put your hand up for whether you liked it or not. And so the pressure to put your hand up, all those for, and every single person put their hand up. All those against, not one person against. All those abstain, nobody abstained. And I felt that this was a red flag, because I couldn't see the point of it, because there was no way that you really had any choice. That would show a dissent in attitude to the elders. So there was no way anybody ever, if, you know, no matter what they proposed, they would put their hand up and say for. And so this was a red flag for me, and it's one that I ignored, but I knew and I felt it was wrong, because it wasn't a really true vote where you could really express yourself. So that was another red flag that I could see. Now, another red flag was to do with what you could wear to go to the meetings. And we had heard of a situation where it was said you had to wear a white shirt to be on the platform. And it didn't happen at our Kingdom Hall, but I did attend a Kingdom Hall where it did happen, and the brother was given a shirt and told to change. Now, to me, that is a red flag. What has that got to do with what you're preaching on the platform? I just couldn't see why that was, and it seemed to be quite common. But I just couldn't understand why it was. I couldn't see anything scriptural about it. But it was what was done, and that was a red flag. I thought, this isn't right. Now, another red flag that I ignored or missed was when I was coming along as a Bible study, and I could not find anywhere in the Bible where it said, in the New Testament, where it said that the gospel message was the paradise hope. I couldn't find it anywhere. And I said to the Bible study, the Bible study conductor, sorry, I can't seem to find anything to say that that is what the good news is. And she said, well, it is what the good news is. It's hidden through the Bible for genuine students to find elsewhere. And she then directed me to Psalm 37 and Proverbs 2 and verse 2. And so I accepted that the Bible did foretell about a time when there would be no wickedness. The scripture in Zephaniah, that talks about the Armageddon type, the gods bringing the wicked world to its end. It would be a whirlwind whirling on the head of the wicked and things like that. And obviously then Psalm 37 and other scriptures were brought in to say it's been hidden, it's a hidden message only for those who are in the know. Well, this is now, I understand, a teaching of the Freemasons, where the majority don't know, and not in the know, so they don't know what they're involved in, and only those in the know. And this is how they have portrayed this, but it never sat right that I could not find Jesus saying, or his apostles talking about the paradise earth hope to bring people in. And so that was a red flag, but I ignored it. It was explained away and I accepted it, even though I didn't believe it. I couldn't understand it. And I could never see the scriptures, what they kept pointing to for certain things. You know, where it said, Jesus said, have no fear, little flock. And they're saying that that was applied only to the anointed. And that was something else that didn't sit right with me. It didn't sit right. You know, the little flock at the time, it was a little band of people when Jesus said it, who were following him. And he spoke to them and said to them, have no fear, little flock. It didn't apply to a governing body. And this never sat right with me either. So there was all sorts of things that were like that. And another thing that didn't sit right, that was a red flag, was when they had conventions and assemblies and they didn't assist them in any kind of material way. If you wanted to go to an international convention, there was no help from the society for you to be able to attend it. So you either had to be quite well off to be able to travel to these international venues, or you couldn't go, or you saved up for years. And you heard of people in foreign countries who were very poor trying to get to a district assembly, and there was no assistance. There's no financial assistance. It was expected of the brothers to help if they so wanted. But there was no assistance. It wasn't charitable. not in the ways the Bible said. And I remember saying to the Bible study conductor, I was baptised, but I was very close to her for quite some time, and I said, I don't feel like a proper Christian. I want to be a proper Christian like in the Bible. And she says, but we are proper Christians. She says, because we go out and preach the good news like the Bible teaches. And we are proper Christians because we love and help one another. But proper Christians helped not just one another, and they didn't just help scripturally. Biblical things, teaching and preaching, they helped them. They went out of their way to help them. But I didn't see this. They didn't take part in anything to do with the community, saying that it was Satan's world and we weren't to get involved in it. We had to remain separate from it. And that didn't sit right. That was a red flag for me. And another one that I ignored. And it didn't wake me up. None of these things on their own woke me up. And, facing, being fearful of the elders. I had a shepherding visit once that the elders came to see me because I was a single parent. And I'd had such a rough time with my husband that I had no intentions of getting married again. I wasn't bothered about meeting anybody. But they came with the Bible in hand and gave me a shepherding visit on loneliness and dealing with staying single, being a single sister. Now, that wasn't what my need was as a single parent. I wasn't bothered about getting married and finding a brother. That wasn't my, what I needed them to talk to me about. They never even asked me what I wanted. And that's a red flag. And after I got married out of truth, as they call it, I married somebody that wasn't a Jehovah's Witness, I had a shepherding visit that was awful, and I was told that I would die at Armageddon by these elders, and that was the only shepherding call I ever had, and I've never had one since, and that was in 2012, and I left in 2022. I never had one because I was viewed as a dissenter, and so they showed no interest whatsoever in anything that I did. And despite the fact that I went through an awful divorce from my husband who wasn't a witness, the attitude was, well, she's only because she shouldn't have married him. And there was absolutely no support whatsoever. Even when my mum passed away, my brother passed away, my sister-in-law passed away very quickly, there was absolutely nothing. And nothing from anybody. Until they heard that they thought I'd said something apostate, then they wanted to come around and visit. I made a video about all that. But all these things were red flags, but they did not wake me up until the COVID-19 lockdown and the vaccines, and that woke me up like a bucket of ice water being thrown over me. And then that's what started me researching, and I come to the point where I thought, no, this is not, it cannot possibly be God's organisation. Millions now living will never die. That's another red flag, because they all were dead. all those people were dead, they told them. Not millions may living may never die. That was the first part they said, and then they changed it. Rutherford changed it to millions now living will never die. Well, they all died. When I became a Jehovah's Witness, we were told that the 1914 generation were very old. We used to look at the Live Forever book where it said in the front, the generation that saw the events of 1914 passes away. Before this, Armageddon will come. And these are very old. The book itself said it. And then they all passed away. And then they put, oh, well, it's not that now. It's an overlapping generation. Well, that never sat right, because that was a red flag. But I didn't wake up with it. I didn't believe it. I didn't believe any of it. I tried to talk to people about what I thought, but nobody wanted to know, or they were all too scared to say what they thought. I don't believe they believed it. So I'm saying to you people out there, if you're a Jehovah's Witness and you're watching this video and you've got things that don't sit right, because this religion doesn't reflect any of the religion that I came into. I came into it because it was a strict religion. And I think that it was strictly obeying the Bible. But it's not strictly obeying the Bible anymore. It's now morphing into the mainstream religion. They were telling us that about TV evangelism, using the internet. All these things were things that were considered to be evil and bad. And now they've gone in with it full tilt. And they're using it more than any of them. I don't recognise the religion as the Watchtower anymore that I went into. Now, you may be a bit younger than me. I've lived in the world outside and seen the world outside. And you may be brought up as a witness and you've never been outside and don't know what goes on. So I will say to you, if you are a Jehovah's Witness and you have got things that don't sit right, start investigating. Have a look. You know, I watched a video yesterday about 607, and that it was not the year that Jerusalem fell. It was 20 years out, and so therefore 1914 is out. It cannot possibly be God's organisation to make so many false prophecies and then attest them to Jesus Christ, as they did in that book which I made the video about, making him out to be a liar so they can be right. Don't sit there. Do your research. Find out the facts. Do what the Bible says. Make sure of all things. Because if you don't, you're going to find yourself on the wrong side when the end does come. I'd like to thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel. And until the next time, I'm going to say bye.